So what is the Green vision? What policies do Greens support? First off, it's important to understand that the Green Party is an eco-socialist, anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist political party and activist organization. We'll get into that and activist organization a little bit later and kind of understanding our history. But we are trying to break the mold of what a political party is in this country. We're trying to push back against the memberless capitalist parties of the Republicans and Democrats, where people are voters, but they're really not engaged in the party and guiding the party. They are people who are courted for their vote, and that's pretty much where it ends. Even the heavily involved, active members of those parties really are just canvassing for candidates and things like that. So we're trying to break the mold. In some ways we're succeeding, in other ways we're failing, right? We're trying to forge a new path is a very precarious thing. So it's not going to be everything's not going to go according to plan, and there's going to be plenty of a learning curve. But we're a political party and an activist organization. And as a party, as an organization, we're guided by two broad sets of values that are intertwined with each other: the 4 pillars and the 10 key values. The 4 pillars are social justice, democracy, peace, and ecology. Those break down further into the 10 key values, which kind of provide a little more detail in terms of what we're talking about with those 4 broad range pillars. And the 10 key values are grassroots democracy, social justice and equal opportunity, ecological wisdom, peace and nonviolence, decentralization, community-based economics, feminism and gender equality, respect for diversity, personal and global responsibility, and a future focus and sustainability. And when you think about these, right, if I go back to the previous slide, when we talked about the Green Party as an eco-socialist, anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist political party and organization, and when you look at the 10 key values, one thing that becomes clear, the party has had a long debate about socialism. In 2016, the National Party explicitly adopted an anti-capitalist stance in its platform, and so that was when it kind of became explicit. But when you look at these 10 key values, one thing you'll notice is that capitalism can't abide by any of them, right? Capitalism is not democratic. By definition, it's a hierarchical system of power. Social justice and equal opportunity are not, outcomes of capitalism. Capitalism, drives division and oppression. Similarly, capitalism is the driving force behind climate change, right? So it's definitely not ecologically wise. And we can go through each one of these, and what we'll find, is that the Green Party, whether explicitly calling itself socialist or not, has been socialist the entire time, right? We have espoused socialist values since our founding, at this point, getting close to 40 years ago. So those are our, the broad strokes of what do Greens believe in. But that then leaves the question, okay, but what do you actually believe in, right? So how do Green values translate into policy? When you look at our, breaking these down in terms of our four pillars, we can look at ecology. We've got the eco-socialist Green New Deal, which provides 100% clean energy by 2030 in all sectors. That's basically now 2030 is probably out of the reach for that one. But that's a 10-year plan that on a balanced budget that can convert us completely over to green, renewable energy, clean energy within 10 years of getting the program rolling. Not just in energy production, but across all sectors, manufacturing and housing and agriculture and all that kind of stuff. Also under ecology, banning fracking, divesting from fossil fuels, green manufacturing, zero waste recycling, regenerative agriculture, reinstating the civilian conservation corps, green public transportation. And during our campaign, Howie said that in 2020, Howie said he would set up an Office of Climate Mobilization to kind of coordinate the pushback against climate change. Under social justice, we've got ending the war on drugs and putting in place anti-discrimination laws, defending reproductive rights, passing the Equality Act, the Equal Rights Amendment, an economic bill of rights like MLK talked about, reparations for African Americans, reparations and honoring treaty rights for Native Americans, closing the detention camps and opening the borders in terms of immigration policy. Looking at democracy, we've got ranked choice voting, abolishing the Electoral College, which in and of itself is an anti-democratic institution. Proportional representation, which is the real game changer. Ranked choice voting when we're still having first past the post races, where the winner takes all, and the person who gets 52% beats the person, gets representation, and the 48% who voted for someone else gets nothing out, gets nothing. How we really radically change the power structure in our government is by establishing proportionally representative bodies, so that more voices are added to the mix. Fair ballot access, right? As an Illinoisan, I often say that ranked choice voting doesn't mean anything if you could still only rank Republicans and Democrats, and that's what's true in my state. If we implemented ranked choice voting for 2024, that's great. I would support that. But the reality is that with our Illinois' extremely repressive ballot access laws, largely the only people that are going to be able to get on most ballot lines are going to be the Republicans and Democrats, right? For president, the Republicans and Democrats have to collect 3,000 to 5,000 signatures. Third parties and independents have to collect 25,000 signatures, right? So we're collecting more than 5 times to run for president, and that's in 90 days. And it's even worse for congressional districts. To run in my central Illinois district, you have to run to run as a Republican or a Democrat, you have to collect about 700 to 800 signatures. To run as an independent or green, you have to collect over 16,000 signatures, right? And you have to double it. So 30, let's call it 30,000 signatures in 90 days from a largely rural district. That's going to be really, really hard to accomplish, right? So if we don't have ballot access, as equitable ballot access standards is one of the key points in our democracy demands. We're not, we're basically just giving a veneer of legitimacy to a still wholly illegitimate system, right? If third parties have petition requirements that are beyond a reasonable expectation, we can't get on the ballot to be ranked. So we need to keep that in mind when we're talking about ranked choice voting. Similarly with proportional representation, right? Getting rid of first past the post is the real game changer. Getting proportional representation in our legislative bodies is the real game changer. Voting rights for felons, continuing with the democracy section, audible paper ballots, full public campaign finance, ending corporate personhood, and DC statehood. When it comes to Puerto Rico and the other territories, the Green Party's position is that those populations should decide what they want to be. If that means statehood, then statehood. If that means independence from the United States, then that means independence. But we, as a party that believes in grassroots democracy, we believe the decision on that should be left to them. In the case of DC, independence isn't really a practical option, and the citizens of DC have consistently asked for statehood. On the peace end of the four pillars, starting off with the 75% military budget cut, closing our overseas bases, a just transition for soldiers to make sure that as we close, we're transitioning the troops who are being discharged as we demilitarize into the new green economy, making sure that they have jobs that are providing stability for their families and that are promoting the shift away from fossil fuels and into a new green eco-socialist economy. We need new nuclear treaties. Right now, we're pulling away from the treaties. We're stepping up our nuclear modernization under Obama and under Trump. That was pushed pretty hard, modernizing our nuclear arsenal. We need a no first use policy for nukes. We need disarmament, massive disarmament. And that includes ourselves taking the lead and being a world leader on that, but also in negotiating new treaties that lead to a goal of a non-nuclear world. We need to lift sanctions that we have all around the world. We need to support BDS, and as part of our for lack of a better term, as part of our reparations to the rest of the world. The United States and our United States-based companies have been a leading driver in climate change, And so we need to be, a big pusher and a big supporter of a global Green New Deal. So that's, a big group of how, how does this actually play out? How do we go from four broad values into concrete policy? And in cases like the Eco-Socialist Green New Deal, if you go to howiehawkins.us, you can see, a full budget worked out, where it talks about how many jobs are created, how much each sector is going to cost, and a path towards reaching 100% clean energy within 10 years.